Hey everyone, Brett Day here, and today I have another lens review for you. We're going to be taking a look at Sigma's new small 28-70mm F2.8 DG DN Contemporary. This standard zoom raised quite a few eyebrows when it was released, as Sigma's own 24-70 F2.8 DG DN Art, a much higher quality lens, retails for just $200 more than this contemporary version. So before we go any further, I just want to say a huge thank you to Sigma USA who supplied this lens for the upcoming review. I also just want to remind everyone that this is a completely independent review and all thoughts and opinions in this review are my own. I have not been paid, nor am I affiliated with any company. First, let's take a look at the specs of the 28-70 F2.8 DG DN. This small standard zoom features 16 elements in 12 groups, 9 rounded aperture blades. The aperture range is from f2.8 to f22. It takes 67mm filters. This lens weighs just over 1 pound or 470 grams. Sigma rates this lens as being splash and dust resistant. It's available for both L mount and Sony E mount cameras, and in the US it has a retail price of $899. Okay, so the first thing you're going to notice about this Sigma 28-70 f2.8 DG DN is just how small and compact it really is. Normally standard zooms like this have a lot of heft and a lot of size to them. However, that's simply not the case with this lens at all. In fact, it balanced perfectly on my Panasonic Lumix S5. Here you can see it next to my Sigma 24-70 f2.8 DG DN Art. The size difference is plain to see here. If you value smaller lenses for your mirrorless cameras, you may like the smaller 28-70mm better. This lens from Sigma is fairly simple in design. You'll find the nice sized zoom ring towards the back of the lens. This zoom ring feels great and is nicely weighted. It's not too tight and it's not too light. As Goldilocks would say, it's just right, and it's a joy to use. The manual focus ring is much smaller than the zoom ring, but again, it feels nice to use. The ring turns smoothly, which makes manual focusing that much easier. There is just one other control on the Sigma 28-70 f2.8, and that's the auto and manual focus switch, which sits on the left side of the barrel. Overall, Sigma has done a nice job with the ergonomics of this lens. Okay, let's talk about build quality for just a little while here. Now, if you've ever used a Sigma contemporary lens in the past, you're going to know exactly what to expect from this 28-70mm f2.8. Now, the barrel is made completely from plastic, which isn't a bad thing. I do have to say that Sigma's plastics do feel nice and tough, and I do believe that they will stand up to general use. I wouldn't say they'll be tough enough for professional use, but for the everyday photographer they'll be just fine. Another thing you're going to have to keep in mind though is that contemporary lenses only feature weather sealing at the mount. Now Sigma rates this lens as dust and splash resistant, but I wouldn't recommend using this lens out in the rain as there are no seals throughout the barrel of the lens. Overall though, I would say that the Sigma 28-70mm f2.8 DG DN is a really well constructed lens. When it comes to autofocus performance, the Sigma 28-70mm f2.8 DG DN is a solid performer. In single focus modes, the lens is rapid and accurate. I used the lens with my Panasonic Lumix S5 and had no issues capturing candid moments and fast moving subjects in both good and less than stellar lighting situations. Now, I can't speak to how this lens performs on other L mount cameras from Sigma and Leica, but on the Panasonic cameras, this lens does pulse when you use continuous focus modes. In fact, it pulses more than the 24-70 f2.8 Art. As I've said before, if you're a Panasonic shooter who focuses on photography, this will cause you no problems and your hit rate will be just fine. It's a different story for videographers though, as the pulsing can be very distracting. Manually focusing with this lens is nice and easy thanks to the focus ring and focus peaking. I'm pleased to say that focus breathing is also kept to a minimum here as well. In fact, it's one of the best Sigma lenses I've used when it comes to focus breathing. This will no doubt please videographers out there. Right, on to image quality. The Sigma 28-70 f2.8 DG DN Contemporary is a great performer overall. In fact, without pixel peeping, you'd be hard pressed to see the difference between images from this lens and its bigger brother, the 24-70 f2.8 DG DN Art. Shoot wide open at 28mm and f2.8 and you'll be treated to images that are almost sharp across the entire frame. Edges and corners are a little softer than the center of the image at f2.8, but stop down to f3.5 and the corner sharpness improves a lot. This level of performance is maintained until you get to 70mm. At the long end of things, this lens does lose a little of its sharpness. However, this is a trait with most zoom lenses. As with most modern lenses, you can shoot down to roughly f14 before you start to see the effects of diffraction. Okay, let's talk about distortions for just a little bit. It's worth noting that there's quite a bit of barrel distortion in play here with this lens. Here you can see how much barrel distortion there is when I enable and disable lens corrections during post. A huge plus of this lens from Sigma is how well it controls both ghosting and flaring. Across the zoom range, this lens and its coatings do a fantastic job of keeping flares and ghosting in check. Another plus is chromatic aberration control. I haven't seen any in any of the test images I've created with this lens. Nicely done, Sigma. The Sigma 28-70mm F2.8 DG DN Contemporary is more of what I would call a standard Sigma performer when it comes to color rendition. Colors produced by this lens are punchy, vibrant and saturated. Now everything looks nice and those who like vibrant colors will like what this lens will produce. Of course, colors and saturation levels can be altered and adjusted during post anyway, but just know, out of the box, you're going to see very bold colors. Now, along with those nice colors, you're going to find that the Sigma 28-70 F2.8 DG DN Contemporary can create some nice bokeh. You'll find that the nicest bokeh will be created when shooting at 70mm. Still, if you shoot at f2.8 and get as close as you can to your subject at any focal length, you'll be treated to smooth out of focus areas that aren't too busy or distracting. Bokeh balls aren't perfectly round. They're more cat's eye, but they still look nice. While I wouldn't buy this lens solely for its bokeh, it can produce when needed and you're going to get nice results. Okay, let's wrap up this review by saying that at $899, this lens isn't exactly cheap. In fact, it's only $200 less than its bigger brother, the 24-70 F2.8 Art. However, I will say that Sigma has created a lens here that is small and lightweight that can deliver excellent image quality. Now, if you're a photographer who values small lenses and you like to keep your kit nice and light when you're out and about, you really might want to consider this lens over the Art version instead. Well, there we have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this review and I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please consider hitting the like button down below. And if you'd like to see more reviews later on, please also consider hitting the subscribe button too. Thanks so much everyone, and until next time, take care.